Buenos dias. Today is February 25th, and yesterday on February 24th, I ate raw food, solids, raw food, and this is what I wrote this morning. Labeled it Going Through Changes. All my body wants is to heal. My body is rejecting all food. Yesterday, when I ate solids, I got a bad headache and my body wasn't reacting too great. As soon as I started eating, the desire to eat vanished immediately, and my taste buds wanted nothing to do with it. I get full so quickly it blows my mind, which I've noticed throughout the month of eating cooked food, and then yesterday eating that raw. I get full so quickly, like it really blows my mind. Um, as before, it was like I had no tank to fill. Like it was just it was an endless pit. um, yeah, before I could eat pounds and pounds of food to the point I could have set records. Now I eat an avocado, guacamole, and some mushrooms, and I am completely full to the point if I try taking another bite, I could possibly puke. Honestly, this is great. Over these past 5 years trying to beat this food addiction, I would wish I had some disorder that made me completely unable to eat certain foods, like lactose intolerant or a stomach sensitivity like my cousin has. She was always very sensitive with food to the point she knew exactly what to stay away from, as she could feel the effects immediately. I guess I just ate so much and always such a large variety that my tolerance was just so high, that my body was just so numb that the only difference in food I could detect was if it were spicy or not. That was literally it. I could eat a bunch of sugar and feel just as good, feel just the same as if I were eat a healthy cooked meal, a large sum of a healthy cooked meal. It really made no difference to me. I could eat anything and it would just feel the same. Um, but yeah, so I could really only tell, the only difference I could tell in food was if it were spicy or not. You couldn't even ask me if it had too much of this seasoning or too much of that seasoning, because my taste buds were just so numb to the point where I couldn't even detect those subtle flavors in it. I really couldn't even explain the flavors I was tasting. I would just eat whatever and anything, um, and find pleasure in it all. Yeah, I think the only things I didn't like back when I ate everything was olives. That's the only thing I couldn't really stomach was olives. Olives and yeah, just olives. And before that, it was olives and mushrooms. But um, some point in high school, I started liking mushrooms, so it just started being olives. So I could eat anything. I was the garbage can in my house. If anybody couldn't finish their plate, if I anybody's house I was at, if nobody could finish their food, if they had a bunch of leftovers that needed to be eaten that's been in the fridge for a couple days, I was the person that was asked to get rid of it, and I would finish it all. Um, so I see as I am healing, my sensitivity to these toxins is now showing. And being sensitive is not a disorder, rather, I'm getting back into order. Before, I was disorderly by how numb I was to these toxins. Which, yeah, because like I said a little earlier in this, I wish I had a disorder that made me not able to eat certain foods. But really, that's it's a disorder while in this society, but to our humanity, to our natural biology, um, being sensitive to these toxins, or at least being able to feel the effects of these toxins, because I feel if we were in our complete healed state, these things wouldn't affect us. Of course, if we ate like pounds of food just randomly out of nowhere, we would definitely feel the effects. But just being able to detect the effects of these toxins and chemicals immediately, I feel like would be. But like right now, as I'm healing, and my body's to the point where it's just moving so far past this consumption of solids that now when I eat it, I can feel I'm very sensitive to it. And because I'm not fully healed, and because I'm basically sick, right? Um, Eating those things, um, the effects are a little harsher at the moment versus if I was fully healed or along my healing journey, further along in my healing journey. Um, yeah, so my pleasure with eating is close to zero now. Um, Yesterday, just eating the raw food showed me how far past I am from this now. When going to get the food in my head, I was thinking there were so many other things I would rather be doing, like moving my body, like going for a walk, doing some expansive movements. You can sort of get an idea by thinking of like qigong or tai chi or yoga or calisthenics. Like I mix all those things. I don't follow any one modality. I've went through all those different practices and learn techniques in each practice that um, when I go and do yoga, I don't actually go and do yoga. Like it's tied in with Tai Chi, Qigong, it's tied in with calisthenics, it's tied in with acrobatics and just making my own practice with it, letting just moving and letting my body guide me. Um, yeah, consumption just seems like such an odd thing to find pleasure in. That one, yeah, as those last two cooked meals on February 4th and 5th, it was really becoming apparent to me like it's so strange how we find so much pleasure in shoving shit in our mouths and just sitting and consuming. It really started seeming strange, and then as I've been healing, almost I juiced for 18 days this past time, and juicing for 18 days, it was just each day was more and more like, man, that's such an odd thing. Like we revolve our lives, and revolve our good times around food. Like it's so much of it is about food. And I remember like that used to be one of my goals, was like to be a foodie and just travel all over the place and try foods from all over the world. And and yeah, and even when you talk about fasting, and before like these past 5 years, when I talk about fasting or getting to the point of no longer eating or drinking, like people are like, but but the experience of food is so so immense, so immaculate. Like, why would you not want to experience food? Like, it's such an experience, right? And yeah, we just find such a huge amount of excitement and pleasure in consuming, and it's really, the more and more, it's just really becoming an odd thing to me. And I think the reason being is because as I'm healing, I'm tapping more into my humanity. I'm tapping more into what it means to be whole and complete, and living from our natural state, which living from our natural state, consuming wouldn't even be a thing, Um, yeah, consumption, like, so things that we find normal here, which are not normal to our natural functioning, our natural state, um, because I'm healing and getting more tapped into that state, I'm starting to see a lot of things that's just completely strange. Like my dad has said, he's tapping more into his empathy as he's healing more and getting rid of all these toxins and blockages. He's able to feel things deeper. He and so, which I've experienced too. It's like, yeah, just feeling more tapped into my empathy and my humanity, which correlates, and just my common sense as well, you know, um, and really seeing things for what they are. Like things are just becoming more and more apparent, more visible as I'm healing. All I'm left to do is fully commit to my healing, as it is very obvious that is all my being wants. Even eating raw, my body was so upset for putting a halt to the healing. From here on out, it literally makes no sense whatsoever to take a bite of solids again. Yeah, I mean, it really doesn't make any sense, especially coming from the viewpoint of sustenance. Like, food isn't sustenance. The only way I view food, the only way we should ever view food is when we're as broken as we are, we're as unhealthy as we are, and so we have to do unnatural procedures to heal ourselves. Like, for example, I'd say before 50 years ago, 35, 50 years ago, you could probably just jump straight into water fasting and heal yourself and not go through such crazy withdrawals or anything. But with what we're living in now, we can't just jump straight into water fasting. You can, but it's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be very difficult. Like I mean, I did it. You know, I went straight into 48, 72s water fasting, and then I've done 5 days, 7 days of dry fasting. And, you know, I felt completely fine. I felt good. I mean, I went through detox symptoms, um, but it was like my first initial 35 days juicing. I was distracting myself a lot. I was dopamine hitting in every other way. I was still smoking weed. I was still, I would go and I would distract myself in every way. So I was ignoring what my body was actually processing and gaslighting myself that I should feel better than what I'm feeling. So, um, so when you're doing this whole encompassing holistic type of healing where you're healing, um, you're actually healing your attachment to these things, you're getting to the root of everything through the emotional and mental baggage, and you're detaching, you're doing all these things to heal. And so, because see, before I was just focused on my physical, before I was just focused on healing my body, whereas now, so I was just focused on one thing where I could actually still indulge in all my other dopamine hits because I didn't see anything wrong with that. But now, but now I'm coming at it holistically to where I'm targeting all my dopamine hits. I'm healing from all kinds of things. So that's what I mean. It was easy to stay distracted and ignore the reality of what was going on before. But when you have this awareness, this deep of an awareness, and um, and so now you're healing on many different levels. Abstaining from food, doing a water fast, doing a dry fast, you are going to feel the effects much more because you're no longer chasing dopamine hits in other ways to distract you from that. So there's no, so you become more parent of your emotional and mental attachment to the food. Um, but yeah, there was something I was saying before all that that led into that I wanted to say, but forget. But yeah, it literally makes no sense to take another bite of solid foods because the way, oh yeah, with how damaged and unhealthy we are, the only way we should be viewing food. Oh, that's what it was. Um, so before we could, like I said, 35 to 50 years ago, we could just jump straight into water fasting and heal like we are healing now. But with how damaged we are, um, with how stocked up on chemicals and toxins we are, with the deeper with how deep this indoctrination and how badly abused and traumatized we are, which means we have an even tighter hold onto our addictions. We have a deeper attachment because compared to 50 years ago, we have so much more propaganda and went through so much more abuse and trauma now, and so much more slave minded and taken away from our critical thinking and all that. We now have to wean off of the drugs we've been on. We now have to wean off of this lifestyle we've been living. And um, so, you know, you got to go into raw foods. You got to go into juicing to heal before you can even get into fasting, before you can even get into fasting consistently and in a sustained way, you know. Um, so because we have to get rid there's layers that we have to get through before we can even start fasting, um, which the raw food and the juicing will do for us. You know, it'll help get through those layers, and then we'll get to a point where we can start implementing fasting. Um, but yeah, so the only my perspective on food now is just looking at it as a cleansing agent, looking at it as a detox, not looking for taste, not looking for pleasure, as that's what's got us in trouble anyways, but only viewing food as a cleansing agent, a detoxing agent, um, and for a source of hydration because we have so much toxins and so much dry dead matter in our body that um, reason why it makes it hard when fasting is because when you start fasting and um, you start these toxins are wrapped in a fat cell or they're wrapped in a water uh, encased in water cells. When you start fasting, it breaks apart those barriers because that's what you're burning off, and then those toxins start circulating around in your system, which is why, you know, the juicing is good because it pulls that stuff out of you. The fasting is good because it breaks it all down, but the juicing, it also breaks it down at a slower rate, but it breaks it down, but it also pulls it out. Um, and that's why fasting before was so hard, especially when I got on those deeper fasts where I was doing 5 days dry, 7 days dry, doing a lot of 72s. Um, because I was getting to the point where I got a lot of the surface level stuff out, and now I was digging into the toxins and so I would when I'd go into fast, like I would get really bad cramps. I'd get really bad foggy head. I'd get blackness in my vision if I stood up too quick, if I moved too quick, and that was because my body was getting so full of toxins and I had no way of excreting it, and so it's just circulating around in my blood, which is dangerous because if you continue doing that and a lot more toxins are starting to release back into your bloodstream, that can kill you. that can or it can really fuck you up, um, and that's why you can't fast and be in this society, because not only are you going through the stress of your body going under the stress of dealing with all this and trying to heal, but you're also still um, meeting your obligations with having to go to work, pay your bills, worry about family, you know, all these things, worry about Yeah, worry about all those things, car payment, everything, which are completely unnecessary, which go completely against what it means to be human and our natural biological functioning. So trying to heal naturally while in a system that's non-conducive to that, it's gonna put you in the dirt. That's why I say, like, with where we're at now, to do that, you have to to go straight into fasting. You got to get out of here, or you got to have a support system that will take over your things while you just lay in bed, and you know what I mean. So yeah, we should only be viewing food as as cleansing, as detoxing, and as hydrating. Oh, that's what I was talking about. Because that dead matter, so you start breaking apart and those toxins start rolling around. They strip you, that dead matter strips you from your hydration. Like I said before, when I would eat cooked food, I'd immediately crave hydration. I noticed that when I went into eating raw, because then when I would just go straight into eating raw, drinking a smoothie, eating some fruit, um, it was like that's what my body's been asking for the whole time. That's what those cravings were. Was I just needed something hydrating. Um, so yeah, that's uh, that's that. Um, and these foods, veggies and fruits, they are extremely extremely stimulating and flavorful. It's just our we've molested our taste buds daily for years so badly that we can't even taste the natural foods. You taste celery. I remember all the time eating celery, eating cucumbers like plain, and I'd be like, man, there's no flavor in this. Like it's just watery. It's watery, but it's there's zero flavor. I could eat so many just raw foods, and I'd just be like, I need salt. Oh, it needs, and that's what I would do. Even with my apples and things, um, even with my watermelon, each bite I poured salt on it. Um, with my cucumbers, I would soak them in lime. I'd squeeze a bunch of lime in them, have them totally submerged in lime, and leave it soaked for at least a day or two before I would eat them, because it made no sense to just eat it the way it was, because it was so plain. And but going into that eating raw and then doing this juicing, every time I've gone back to eating raw, it was so flavorful. Like avocados was an amazing experience. I was like, oh my god, an avocado never tasted this flavorful before. Um, Eating grapes, I noticed. Eating cucumbers and a handful of things, like just all the fruits. Even though the fruits were still like apples before, um, they were still flavorful to me. Eating melons were flavorful, but now having cleaned up my palate, they are even more flavorful. Like there's layers I can taste now that it's just like, oh shit, like that is actually very stimulating. So, um, because people would be like, man, I couldn't imagine only eating raw or fruits and veggies. Like, that would be so boring. There'd be no taste. And it's like, that just shows how much your taste buds are fucked, you know? So, at first, it's really not, you really can't focus on the taste. Like, you got to focus on cleaning up, because eventually you'll start tasting. But still, that's what we're trying to break, is seeking pleasure and comfort from food. We shouldn't be seeking for taste. We shouldn't be eating for taste. Even though our species specific diet, like fruits and veggies and raw, it would be, we would naturally gravitate towards that. Like we would find pleasure in that. Would find it stimulating, because it is actually very flavorful. It's extremely flavorful. But yeah, what got me to eat yesterday was just a really had no like strong desire. Like I said, everything else I wanted to do was like there's just so many other things to do and that I'm focused on. And I know I've already gotten so much experience from that 1 month of eating cooked food that it's just it makes no sense to eat, you know. It really makes no sense to eat. Um, because as soon as you take that first bite, that desire is it vanishes, and then the taste, all the first 2 3 bites, that's it, and then the you start becoming numb to the taste, to the flavors of it, and to the point it's like you're just eating density now. Um, yeah, and so like I knew all that, but I was like, you know what, if I'm gonna eat, I'm gonna eat raw, and really just to see again, you know, just to because getting back into juicing, I was really scared of actually even thinking about eating food, um, of even going and getting food because I felt like if I did that, it would reel me back in. But no, after yesterday, it was just such an eye opener. I was like, wow, man, I'm so far past this now. Like my body's literally just wanting to heal. Like I'm so deep into the abyss now. I'm so deep in the knowing that it's like there's no turning back, you know? Like there would be like if I were to turn back and just say fuck all this juicing, fuck this healing and just it would I would go through so many mental issues and be so sensitive to these foods. Be getting sick, I'd be getting ill, and yeah, so it's like I'm just to the point where I fully gotta make my decision. Am I gonna fully commit to healing, or am I gonna continue teeter tottering back and forth? And I just see I'm to the point where it's a full commitment. You know, um, it makes no sense to do anything else than to just fully commit and heal, because I can clearly see. Because like I said, all I ate was a whole avocado, um, got a thing of guacamole um, and mushrooms, and used mushrooms to scoop up the guacamole and even eating the mushroom whole, and it was and the effects of that, like all the only stimulation that I got from that was the first few bites, and that was it. The first 2 bites of each thing, you know, first I ate the avocado. First couple bites were was an experience, and then it went straight to just bland. Went straight to just like, why am I even eating this? Then I went to the guacamole and mushrooms, and you know, first couple bites were stimulating as it was another stimulation. It was a different flavor, so I got to taste the first 2 flavors, and then it just went straight to bland again, and and the whole time it just felt heavy in my stomach. It was just it didn't give me energy. It didn't The only energy it gave me was stimulation. But even then, because I'm so aware while I'm eating, I'm not looking at it as a source of excitement. You know, I'm more just observing. And so yeah, I saw all the stimulation was to my taste buds. And then but yeah, the way it made my body feel, I mean, it just it was not needed. Um, it makes no sense to even ingest that stuff, and yeah, like I said, it gave me a major headache. I had to lay down. I couldn't even get on my technology last night, as um, like just processing anything with my eyes was hurting. So when I got home, the rest of that night, I just lay down. Um, I think I got back home at like 3 o'clock, and the rest of that evening I just lay down, and um, but yeah, my stomach feeling completely full, which is crazy because I only ate those 3 things, and it was like my stomach was completely full. Like if I took another bite, I would have puked, and that's of raw food. You know, before, especially when I first started the raw diet, I would eat so much raw food. Um, to try and curve my cravings for eating cooked food. And no matter how much raw food I ate, I still wanted that cooked food. No matter how full and bloated off the raw food I was, I still wanted cooked food. And so it was like, wow, like, so I mean, I could just, that's what I'm saying. I would eat so much in a day. I could have set records. Um, that stuff my family used to tell me, man, you should really make a hobby out of, or make a living even off of doing the food contests and things like that. And I really thought about it. I was like, man, I really could, because have such a, I have such a, I find so much enjoyment in eating. You know, I mean, back then I literally said, like, I love food. I love consuming, and 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 really saw it as like the thing that really brought me the most joy in my life. and and so yeah, that was, you know, you can really see where how deeply rooted that attachment is with food, and why it's been such a process and a journey for me on this thing. um, but yeah, I'm just, I'm happy because all this experience with the month of cooked food, and the food yesterday, the raw food yesterday, it's showing me, it's helping me fully commit into what I need to do. It's helping me decide, um, as it's showing me what I'm naturally gravitating towards, you know. So that is that. Um, but yeah, still feeling a little tired today. Might just take it easy today. I'm actually gonna try and get outside, walk, move my body, and yeah, really just stay away from technology. I'm just, I'm really just wanting to do everything I can to rapid to assist my body, mind, and spirit into healing. It's like there's really nothing else I want to do except focus on that. And because I'm really just hungry for my freedom. I'm really just hungry for living sovereign and being in alignment, and getting past all these addictions and getting past all these attachments, and just living fully in what it means to be human, living in true fact and reality, and living authentically. That's all. That's what I'm saying. Like, um, towards the end of eating cooked food that month, and then yesterday, it was like going to go get those foods. I would just be thinking in my head, like, man, I just want to, I want to be doing this instead. You know, I want to be focused on my healing instead. I want to write. I want to make videos. I want to tap in with myself. You know, I want to. There would be so many other things I would want to do than to consume food. And even the past 18 days of juicing, like, it would be so easy to defeat those cravings because I was just so deep in my knowing and what I want to do. And so yeah, you know, it's good I ate that food yesterday, because it's got me, it should, it's got me, it's it's got me deciding now. It's got me fully committing now, and yeah, just seeing how far past I am, how far past I am from all this worldly stuff. It's pretty amazing to witness. But yeah, that's that. Today's February 25th, and yeah, enjoy the rest of y'all's day.